Katie Auney. I am the Assistant Dean for External Relations for Merrill College of Journalism. I'd like to welcome everyone. I know we're still getting some people coming in out of the waiting room here. Just want to do a couple quick housekeeping notes as we're getting started. If you could just make sure that you stay on mute throughout the call here, just to make sure that everyone is able to hear. We are going to be recording this. I heard from a number of people who were not able to make the call tonight, so we are recording it so that we can share with others who are interested after the fact. So basically, we're going to start. I'm going to turn it over to Dean Lucy Dalglish, and then from there, we'll hear from Jeff Williams with the Alumni Association, and then Alyssa Brooks, who is with the School for Public Health Alumni Network. And then we'll have a chance to open it up for questions and discussions. So, and this is my cat Stan, who likes to join all of our Zoom calls, so you can say hello to him. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dean Dalglish.
Thank you, Katie, and welcome everyone. It's nice to see Stan. He joins quite a few staff meetings, but I think we're all learning how to deal with this new reality. Thank you so much to everybody who has come in tonight. I'm seeing some faces I recognize and some folks that I recognize your names, but not your faces. We're very, very excited. You know, Merrill College alums have always tried to network with each other very informally. Or a very, very tight bunch of people, but we've never really had the opportunity to use the University of Maryland's College Park's alumni network system. It's kind of new to us, and we're just delighted that the Alumni Association is going to help us set up this network. I hope, particularly in the days of COVID, that this is a good way to stay in touch with everyone. You know, we try to travel around the country and meet as many of you as possible at various events, but it's one of the ironies of the times we're in that we're actually in contact with more of our alums now than we have been in the past. So thank you for tuning in tonight. I hope that the fact that we've got so many people who were interested in coming tonight reflects that our communications with you have gotten much, much better, and that you're getting timely and interesting information about the college. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. And from all of us at Merrill College, may you and your families stay safe and healthy as we get through this very difficult time. Back to you, Katie.
Great, thank you, Dean Dalglish. Now I'd like to turn it over to Jeff Williams. Jeff is the Managing Director and Chief Outreach Officer for the University of Maryland Alumni Association, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the role of the Alumni Association and the role of the alumni networks. So I'll turn it over to you, Jeff.
Hi, everyone. Thank you first, Katie, for inviting me to participate tonight, and it's exciting to see so many alumni here and interested in starting an alumni network for the journalism school, for the Philip Merrill School of Journalism. So really, this is an exciting day for us at the Alumni Association. And I think, you know, I hope to be able to answer everyone's questions, but feel free to continue and stay in touch with me. Find me on LinkedIn or keep in touch with me over email afterwards. I hope this is just the start of our relationship and your engagement with the university. So as Katie mentioned, I'm the Managing Director at the Alumni Association. I lead the engagement and outreach team. So we have, including myself, 15 people doing the work really of the front lines, getting out there, working with alumni volunteers, planning events. We do advocacy work on behalf of the university. So we engage alumni to advocate in Annapolis and DC on behalf of priorities for the university. We also do work with student engagement. So we have a very active student to really instill the culture of engagement and history and traditions within our current terps. As well, we do a lot of work with our recent graduates, and then a growing amount of professional development and professional networking for alumni. We know that's one of the areas where alumni say we can be really relevant is to help alumni find jobs, find new opportunities, grow their business. And so we're really trying to deliver on that. And especially in the age of COVID, where we've had to pivot completely online, we've really become innovative with the types of programming we are offering, trying to hit a variety of life stages, and of course, appealing to alumni in different industries and all across the world. So the Alumni Association just hit our 30th birthday, which, if you can believe that, it's not very old considering and relative to other alumni associations. If you look at Penn State or Michigan State or Ohio State, they're all 130 years old. We are 30. So we are still in growth stage. I like to kind of compare us to a startup, especially my team, which, before 5 years ago, my team was only one person. So we've grown rapidly. And hopefully as alumni, you are really seeing the impact of that work, and with more events and better communication and engagement of our alumni. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit, and about 50% of our operating budget comes through revenue that we generate through membership. We are a membership-driven organization. If you aren't already a member, I hope you will join. I hope you'll join as a lifetime member. If you are a lifetime member, your name will appear forever on the Eric Francis Life Member Wall, which is at the Riggs Alumni Center right near Maryland Stadium. So as well, there's annual membership, and then we also have corporate partners and rental of our Riggs building, which is a beautiful venue for weddings and other events. So I hope you can come check us out when we're back to in-person events. So a little bit about more about the Alumni Association. Our mission is to connect, cultivate, and channel the power of alumni to enrich themselves and advance the university. So we do have a dual purpose. We are both serving alumni and the university. Our vision, what we hope to be, is the heart of the university, inspiring lifelong connections with a global network of Maryland alumni. So our alumni networks, which is what we call them, some places call them clubs, alumni clubs, or alumni chapters. We call them alumni networks. And the primary goal of our networks is to plan events that strengthen Turp Bride among all alumni and with the connection with the university. So running a network is a collaborative effort between network volunteer leaders, the Alumni Association, and our staff partners in the academic units. So Katie and Olivia in this case. We have around 60 different alumni networks, ranging from academic networks, affinity networks, industry-based networks, and special interests. So those would be networks that are really based off of student groups. So like the Band Alumni Network or the Letter Winner Alumni Network. So each of these networks are chartered with the Alumni Association and are considered a subsidiary organization to us. So a little bit more about this, and I'm actually going to drop into the chat. We do have a handbook for our alumni network leaders. Let me just drop it into the chat. And you can feel free to open this up and follow along. So this is kind of like, our handbook of how we ask our networks to operate. Our academic networks, we really consider them to have a dotted line to the Alumni Association and a solid line up through the school or college. So some of these guidelines may or may not apply to your network. It really depends on how Katie and Olivia would like to set it up. But this is a good framework. It's a good point of reference that hopefully you can use as you develop a network. So a couple of things I just want to highlight. Networks will have a board, an executive board of a president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and then additional at-large members and committee chairs. So these positions are typically 2-year terms. So at the end of this, hopefully some of you will be interested and perhaps apply for some of these positions. And typically they are a 2-year term, renewable for up to 3 terms. So it is something that we want you to commit to for, a good amount of time so that we can really gain some momentum with what we're doing. Board members need to have an active Alumni Association membership. As I mentioned, that's how we pay the bills. And if you are, boards are funded through the Alumni Association. So we do provide stipends to all of our alumni networks, which may be supplemented through the school or college. And the board would actually maintain a bank account. So that's why the treasurer is so important. So the bank account would be typically at PNC or Bank of America, and the board would actually have ownership and fiduciary responsibility over the money that we give them, and to use that money to help us achieve our mission. So planning events and programs that engage alumni and strengthen the university. So a couple more things, and I can cut for questions. Katie, I know you have maybe a program, so if we want to do questions later, whatever works for me. A couple more things. There are bylaws to the board, so that's what dictates the board operations. So fiscal management, meeting schedule, key committees, board meeting expectations, etc. Typically, our boards will meet quarterly. Some of them meet monthly. So that would be up to your group, I think, to decide the frequency. And most boards will plan at least 4 events per year. And those events will range from social events, family friendly, barbecues and picnics, of course, when we're in person, but also professional networking events. So speaker series, panel events, workshops, career and resume assistance or review. And we can give you a lot of examples. I know Alyssa is here. She is the president of the School of Public Health Alumni Network. And School of Public Health is, I think, fairly similar in size to the School of Journalism. And it is really one of our best networks. And I'm not just saying that because Alyssa's here. They do really fantastic work to engage the community. And, I'll pass it off to her in just one moment, but Alyssa also sits on our board of governors. So as an academic network, there would be one person from the board for the journalism school that would be also on the board of the Alumni Association, the board of governors. So Alyssa serves as both president and also the representative on the board of governors. So this is the national board, the governing body of the 501c3. And this person, for each school will represent their constituents. They'll participate in the board of governors meetings, help to oversee and provide strategic advice for the organization as a whole. So that's another thing that we can, of course, talk more about. But I think, yeah. So if there are any questions, or I can pass it to Alyssa to talk a little bit about her experience on School of Public Health Board.
Jeff. I just put a note in the chat. If anyone does have any questions specifically for Jeff, if you want to go ahead and put those in the chat, and then I'll turn it over to Alyssa. And once she's done, we can open it up to questions for both Jeff and Alyssa, and have them answer any of those if there are any. So with that, I will turn things over to Alyssa Brooks, who is a graduate of the School of Public Health and the president of their alumni network. Welcome, Alyssa.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you so much for having me. I love the number of attendees on this meeting. I think that's really exciting and energizing. I also really love seeing at least one dog. I personally believe we should start every Zoom meeting with a pet parade. I'm working on that at work. Again, my name is Alyssa. I'm really, really honored to be here. Katie asked me to share a little bit about my role as president of the School of Public Health Board, a little bit about what we do, and I've taken it upon myself to throw in some unsolicited advice at the end, just for fun. So I actually was invited to get involved with the School of Public Health Network, I think largely because, and I won't say this to many people, but I did have prior experience with my undergraduate Big Ten University Alumni Network and some leadership roles there. I won't tell you which Big Ten university that was, but I will say that Maryland just beat them. And I was very conflicted, but also very happy for Maryland. I ultimately got involved with both the School of Public Health Board and the Board of Governors because two of my big drivers in life and passions are leadership and service. Marilyn gave me so much, and I really wanted to give back, especially because I'm physically in the DC area. So it was easy for me to connect with Maryland, and I felt really passionate about it. When I started as president, when I came on board as president, one of my board members said, our duty is not necessarily fundraising, because as much as we want people to become members and we want them to donate, our mission as alumni networks is really friend raising. So I take that to mean we need to get people really excited. We need to build engagement. In addition to that, for you all, you need to build a really great, strong team of leaders. And then you need to keep them engaged and kind of, remind them often of the important work that they're doing. My role as president is really to support my board. We have a really incredibly talented and motivated and driven board with a lot of really great ideas. And I sort of view my role as the facilitator of those ideas and the cheerleader in a way. I think when you're getting started, one thing that really helped me was having a very diverse board. And that can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. I think that includes things like race, ethnicity, gender, age, but it also means job and life experience. So we have people who are very recent graduates who maybe are still in grad school. And then we have people who are actually retired. And it really helps a set of voices at the table. It's so great. I'm so happy to see that your dean is here. It's so important to have stakeholder buy-in. I remember our first meeting, which I'm kind of having flashbacks to attending this tonight, and our dean was at our first meeting. So the support of your dean is so important, and I'm just so happy that you have that. Jeff mentioned the bylaws, the handbook. Maybe it's not the most interesting stuff in the beginning when you have all this momentum, but it's so incredibly helpful. I am a really type A kind of person who has a lot of sticky notes and spreadsheets and subfolders in my email, but having things written out, having sample bylaws from another school, which is what we did, that really helped us set structure, set expectations, and that was just really beneficial for everybody involved. I spent a lot of time in the beginning just having coffee with people. So there's 40 some people on this call, and all of them are going to have ideas. Sometimes those one-on-one meetings and connections can really drive your overarching agenda and your board in a really great way. Another thing that I learned very quickly is that volunteer management can be really delicate. So you will be a volunteer-run network. And so that means that people usually have other full-time jobs and family and life commitments. So you need to respect and appreciate people's time while holding them accountable, especially those in leadership roles. So I think that's just something to always kind of be mindful of the dance, the balance between respect and appreciation and accountability. You will find it very beneficial to work with your school liaisons and with your Alumni Association liaisons. So there's really no need to reinvent the wheel. We have a great Alumni Association who puts together leadership conferences where you can network with other people, other leaders. Your faculty are an incredible resource, not only because oftentimes people want to come back and see their favorite faculty member, but also because faculty members often know where your recent graduates are and what they're doing. So those are people who you can really leverage. We also collaborate quite frequently with other networks. So this helps you, especially in the beginning, expand your reach and build an even bigger network. But it also helps you from a financial standpoint. So if there is an event that you really are interested in hosting, but it's going to cost more than your budget, your allocation allows, partner with another network that it makes sense to partner with, whether that's academic or regional. Okay, our events, what do we do? So in the beginning, I have to be totally honest, we did a little bit or a lot of it of trial and error because we really weren't sure what our alums were interested in. So we've done things that were purely social in nature, like happy hours. We've done professional networking events. We did homecoming themed events. We did, my favorite event ever was an open house where it was actually a semi-formal event, which I love, that welcomed people back to the School of Public Health and took them on a tour, essentially. So that was really fun. And then we also engaged with current students. In my experience, when you ask alums how they want to give back to the school, oftentimes they'll say, I really want to help current students. So think about that, create opportunities for them to network with students, even though your focus is going to be on alums. We have a mentor program that's now award winning. I can finally say that. So again, help your alumni help your students. We have an emerging and engaging leadership award that we're actually rolling out next week. We've done some family-friendly events, so picnics. One of our picnics, interestingly, was derailed by a literal and actual hurricane, but we didn't get discouraged. We tried it again next year. So it's important to kind of keep a sense of humor and take risks. We do a night of networking, which again is more student alumni oriented. And of course, I won't say the word unprecedented, but we all know that we're living our lives on Zoom right now. I think the shift to virtual life has really reminded me of the need for balance. Not only do we need to balance work and life, easier said than done, but we need to strike a balance between, for you as an alumni as an academic network, what is the content specific programming that your alums are interested in? So for us at School of Public Health, we had a webinar on COVID. We did a fireside chat about vaccine efficacy. And then just 2 weeks ago, we did a Zoom masterclass where we did at-home facials for our grads. So that was purely for fun. And so I think, the world really is your oyster, at risk of sounding cliche. You have a lot of free reign and you'll have incredible support from the Alumni Association because they really value your time and your ideas. So take risks. Okay, 2 more things. This is the unsolicited advice part. So, and I'll drop my email in the chat as well. So I think one thing that really helps me was instead of thinking about what's going to be the most incredible, amazing event, what I really chose to focus on was creating sustainable processes. So right now we have a mentorship program that we have a really clear plan for. So it's easy to do, not easy, but it's easier to do every year because we have a set of guidelines that we follow. And also cultivating future leaders. And that starts with students. I already said this, but take risks. When we had our first meeting, our dean walked into the room and he said, I want you to know that anything that you do this year is going to be better than we had last year. Because last year we had nothing. We had no events, therefore we had no attendees. So if you put out an event and you have a really great idea for it, and then you have a lot of no-shows or low attendance, don't let that derail you. I could give a whole talk about that, but I won't. Don't get discouraged by that. And lastly, and this is the most important thing in my mind, this is supposed to be fun. You will not be successful and you won't be productive and you won't create an impact unless you as alumni volunteers are having fun in the process. Some of our board have become my closest friends, and I want that for you as you sort of embark on this journey. So I'll stop there. I'll put my email. I would love to do a coffee chat or Zoom or anything with anyone who's interested in getting more involved. And I welcome any questions. I know Jeff's here to answer them as well. Thanks again for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alyssa. I'm kind of keeping an eye out in the chat here for any questions. So I will see if any of those come through. I do see a question from Leslie, just in terms of targeting donations. And I think just sort of in general, yes, there's two separate things. There's the Alumni Association and the membership, which, as Jeff mentioned, we encourage everyone to join the Alumni Association, and certainly anybody who is sitting on the board of the new Journalism Alumni Network is required to be a member of the Alumni Association. But in terms of giving in general, we do have a number of opportunities to give to the College of Journalism, whether that's focused on scholarships or supporting the Dean's Fund or supporting specific programs. There are a lot of opportunities around that. So I'm happy to share more information. Leslie, I can send you more on that if you like. Just in terms of kind of talking a little bit about next steps here, hopefully Jeff and Alyssa gave you a good sort of idea of what the Alumni Association is all about, what the Alumni Network sort of concept is all about, and some of the different things that volunteers are able to organize. I think from the sounds of it, and as Alyssa mentioned, one of the School of Public Health events this year was recognized as the best event of the past year by the Alumni Association. So it's an award-winning event that they've put on, but there are a lot of opportunities there. And I think one of the things that has really struck me in the 2 years that I've been at Merrill College is just the diversity in our alumni in terms of where people are and what they're doing, and even what they were focused on when they were in college at Maryland. And just to give people a little bit of an idea, because I know we have, looking at the list of the alumni that are on the call, we have people who graduated in the last couple of years. We have people who graduated in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And the College of Journalism has evolved over time. So for those of you who aren't aware, we actually started as a department in the business school way back when, and then sort of evolved into a separate college. But I know some of you on the call, when you were in school, you might have followed the public relations track, or you might have majored in advertising or in marketing, even while you were in the College of Journalism. And those majors have actually moved out of journalism in the past few years. And so now the College of Journalism is really strictly journalism. So students who have graduated in the last few years, maybe chose broadcast or print as sort of their focus. But in the last couple of years, we've even done away with those distinctions so that students have really more ability now to come in and get broad exposure to all areas of journalism, and really trying to prepare students for the journalism jobs of the future, because things are changing so quickly. So to that end, we're recognizing that people are coming from a wide variety of experiences and have followed a wide variety of career paths. And so I think part of the hope in forming this alumni network is for people to be able to find other alumni that are like-minded, that they feel connections with, that they're able to connect with through different events and activities. So in terms of next steps, we will be putting together an application process for those who are interested in joining the initial board. So we'll launch with an initial board with a president, vice president, et cetera. That group will work with Olivia and I to form the initial bylaws that will really serve as the governing document for the board going forward. And we'll initially bring on a board probably this year of 8 people, and then next year bring on some additional people. So we have sort of a staggered terms in terms of when people are turning over as they're doing their 2-year terms. And so that's something I expect in the next 2 weeks. We'll have that application available for anyone who is interested in applying for one of those board positions. And then our hope is that we'll be able to get that group together pretty early in the new year to really start planning and hopefully have some sort of I would normally in pre-COVID times, I would say a launch event. Now it'll probably be some sort of virtual launch event, but an event nonetheless to really kick things off. So I'm seeing just a couple questions in the chat here. So the PR folks are actually now part of the School of Communications, which is in the College of Arts and Humanities. And Ken's question in terms of, what your role is now, I think part of what we're hoping this network will do, particularly for those of you who might have focused on PR or advertising or one of the non-journalism focused areas, is still give you a chance to connect with other alumni doing similar things as you. So where there may not be as much of an opportunity to get involved with what our students are doing right now, we hope that we'll be able to provide professional development opportunities, networking opportunities, social opportunities for those of you, no matter what track you graduated from, no matter what school. And as Alyssa mentioned, I think there's also, a lot of opportunities for the Journalism Network to partner with other networks, maybe with the Smith School Network or with, with the RHU Network to do joint events to involve, people doing a lot of things. Because we recognize even people who, might have done the broadcast track or the print track might not be working in journalism right now. People end up doing a lot of different things. So we want to provide opportunities for everyone to connect with people and engage. I see a question here, the broader university. Great question. The alumni board it's not set up strictly as a fundraising board. We do have a separate board with the college called our board visitors, which serves as an advisory board, which has more of its official responsibilities, fundraising. That said, I think we do hope that people who choose to get involved with the alumni network and the board, also are interested in supporting both the college and the university financially. And, I think, Jeff, I don't know if you can talk at all. I feel like I've seen that some networks do some of their own fundraising around events or have scholarship funds, things like that. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'd be happy to. I actually, before I was at the Alumni Association, I was at the Smith School of Business, and I'm so sorry because I was saying the journalism school, and I realized it's the college. So I came from two schools. I was at the Smith School and the Clark School. So I apologize. It's just the words that flew out of my mouth. So the College of Journalism. But anyways, actually at the Clark School, there was a endowed scholarship account that was set up through the alumni board. This was something that the group spent about, I'd say 8 or 10 years because raising money, because it's $50,000 that you have to have for an endowed account. It can be smaller, if it's just a current use account. Katie can get into those details later. But the group did help to raise money through golf tournaments and other fundraisers, as well as some appeals to the alumni constituents of the School of Engineering. And they were able to raise enough money to create an endowed scholarship that goes to support a student leader in the School of Engineering. And Clark School also has a lot of great outreach to student programs, that scholarship being one of them. In addition, so yes, that is a possibility. If the group were to want to, and if Katie were interested in helping, which I'm sure everyone would be happy to do that, that is something that the alumni board could oversee, setting up and creating a scholarship fund. Now, the other thing, as part of events, we now have the option to add a donation to events. So we've been doing this. This just started about 2 or 3 months ago. And it's basically when you register for an event, it says, would you like to make a gift? This event is free, brought to you by the Alumni Association. And the Alumni Association is a nonprofit, and we rely on the support of alumni and donors to keep up our programming. And you would be surprised. It's a very soft appeal, a very soft ask. A lot of alumni are just very generous and grateful for their support. And we've been able to raise several $1,000s from coming up on 100 donors now, just through this type of appeal on our event registration. So I'd say if you put together, engagement always comes first. In my opinion, we can't just go out to alumni who don't have a relationship with us and say, we'd like for you to make a gift. No, I think it starts the other way around. It starts with really quality programming, quality engagement, show your value to alumni, show how you're helping other alumni advance their professional goals, achieve their career success, and connecting back with students and their alma mater, and the donations will follow. So, so that's a lot more we can talk about. I'll kind of leave it at that. But it's great to hear that there would be interest in potentially helping out with that part. Although, as Katie mentioned, it's not the core mission. The core mission is engagement.
Great, thank you, Jeff. So we've got a question for Alyssa.
I was going to answer that, but I was also going to add on to what Jeff was saying about raising money. One thing that we've found has been really helpful in terms of decreasing the amount of no-shows that we have for an event is doing a tiered model. So sometimes we'll host an event and we'll use network funds to cover the event. If the person is a member of the Alumni Association, their registration would be free or discounted, and then people who are non-members would have to pay a little bit more. Even if it's just like $5 versus $10, I think having a small amount of money tied to certain events, not all, I mean, you do want to do some totally free stuff, especially in the beginning, but that has helped us in terms of increasing attendance. And I was typing an answer in the chat. I think, the question from Ken, which is a great one, is how have we handled virtual events since COVID? What have we done? I think we've tried to sort of maintain the same balance of things that are content specific and things that are purely social or networking oriented. So the examples I gave, we did a COVID specific panel. We did one on vaccine efficacy and safety, things that we knew or we thought would be of interest to public health grads. And then we also did things that were just for fun. So, there's Zoom fatigue is real. Everyone sits in front of their computer. Most people sit in front of their computer for much of the day. And so when you have to be really careful when you're scheduling things at 6 p.m., 12 noon, on people's lunch breaks, making it really engaging and not just a lecture. So last week we mailed, 2 weeks ago now, we mailed kits to people's houses who registered, and we did a Zoom facial event guided by the CEO of a non-toxic skincare company. So that was just a really cool thing. It's definitely unlike any Zoom meeting I'd ever gone to, A, because I didn't have to wear makeup, and B, because it was like a girls' night. So we've kind of tried to strike a balance and do some exploration with our virtual events. But
Great, thank you. So we've got a question from David. Will this group overlap or interact with the UMD Journalism group on LinkedIn or the larger official group? And what about other social media platforms? I guess I would answer that. So the LinkedIn group is managed by me and Olivia, essentially, and is sort of more, it's interactive. We encourage people to post there. I know Adrienne Flynn often posts job postings there, but it's not really, designed to be a group of, sort of an active group organizing things or putting events together. I think it would really be up to the board of the Alumni Network, whether they want to start their own, social media account to keep in touch with network members. Again, Jeff, I don't know, do any of I'm assuming there's got to be current networks that have their own social media accounts that do their own social media outreach.
Yeah, so we do encourage networks to maintain their own social media accounts. If that's something that you'd like to do, we have the most traction on LinkedIn by far. I think, and one thing Katie can share more with you later. We do survey alumni, and we've done an annual survey the last 3 years. So we could, once there is a board identified, we could provide data to the board to be able to really create a strategic engagement plan based off of what alumni of the College of Journalism said that they wanted to have the most from their alumni association, and which would be inclusive of your network. So we know a lot of it's professional networking, and that's why I think LinkedIn is so popular. After LinkedIn, the second highest engagement comes from Facebook, and Instagram is very popular with recent graduates. And to be honest, we don't really, we're on Twitter. I don't think we get too much traction on there. And we're not on like Snapchat or Vine or TikTok or anything like that. But, you know, you all are the journalists and PR and advertisers. You all can probably show us how it's done. I am pretty confident in that. So
I would tend to agree with that. I don't think we'd have a hard time finding somebody to lead up the social media effort for the network. If anyone else has any other,
can I add one more thing? So this is something
yes.
that, and I don't want to embarrass her, but we actually are working with Alyssa. She's on the call, and I hope I pronounced her last name right. And Allison is a freelance writer for the Alumni Association, and I love the fact that she's here. But she is helping us with our alumni blog. And this is something that I could see go over very well for the College of Journalism. We do a bunch of alumni spotlights where we feature alumni-owned businesses. We have write-ups on interesting current students or interesting events that we're doing. And in the age of COVID, our readership has gone through the roof, like 400% increase, and you know, triple-digit increases month over month, which is really great. We're very excited about the readership on the blog. So that's another way to, you know, thinking about the goal of the Alumni Network. Yes, it's to connect alumni through events, but it's also to really amplify the success of the Alumni Network, to share interesting stories, to connect back to one another and back to your alma mater. So just throwing that out there because of the nature of the school, and you know, maybe that's something that might be you know, part of the network strategic plan. I actually recommend that might be a good first step after establishing a board and bylaws. A strategic plan is a very, very helpful document. We had one in engineering, we had one at Smith. So, you know, and I'd be happy to participate and be part of that, but I think that would be, you know, a good move for this group.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Any other questions at all? If you want to put it in the chat or use the raise hand function. I don't know that I can see everyone, but if you raise your hand, I can try to spot you and call on you, or Olivia can keep an eye out as well and let me know if there's somebody raising their hand who has a question at all. Otherwise, I did want to take a little bit of time and just open it up. I think we'd love to hear from some of you, you know, in terms of what you would like to see in terms of, you know, events and activities, either, you know, currently during this pandemic era. I think, you know, we sort of recognize that most likely we will continue to be operating in a virtual environment when it comes to events for at least the next few months. So, you know, I think we trying to think of ways in the college. You know, we've been doing a lot of panel discussions, but trying to come up with ways to do things virtually that can be more interactive for people. You know, but then even beyond that, you know, looking ahead, once we are able to gather in person again, you know, I'd love to hear from some of you just in terms of what types of things you might like to see, you know, this network put together or the college put together in the future. So again, if anyone wants to use the raise hand function that's down at the bottom in reactions, and can try to call on you, or if you want to just make yourself known in the chat, and we can unmute you, and would love to hear what people have to say. You guys are quiet tonight. All right. Well, again, I'm going to start wrapping up here, but feel free to jump in if anyone does want to share anything, or feel free to email me or Olivia afterwards. Like I said, in the next couple weeks, we'll have, oh, Lavon, do you have a question?
Thank you. I was looking for the hand. I saw it in an earlier chat room, and I said, I don't see it today. I just want to say I'm very surprised about the change in the college. I wasn't aware of that, and I stay pretty connected to University of Maryland at large. So I guess that says to me that this effort is of critical importance because we should know those type of things. And then, but I do get information from time to time from the alumni, so I may have overlooked it in the magazine, maybe it was announced. I don't know how long it's been, but I will say that this is encouraging, not so much for me. I mean, I am kind of underemployed right now, and I was in the PR track, but I've also done newspaper journalism, so I did not confine myself to PR. But for those who are coming through, I think that this is phenomenal to have this very dedicated focus, because University of Maryland is a town unto itself. And once you leave, you know, it's hard to stay connected. So at least having this network for the college will hopefully engage younger alum to stay connected to the college and then the larger university.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lavon, for sharing. Anyone else? I see a few comments from Carrie and Marlena in the chat, and I agree. I love the idea of a joint public health journalism event. I think would be an amazing idea at some point. All right. Well, as I think Alyssa said when she started off, we recognize everyone's time is very valuable. So I don't want to keep anyone longer.
We've got a question
Kirsten?
from Pearson.
Hi,
Okay.
sorry, I'm calling from my phone, which is why I don't have my camera on, but I am just going to ditto what Lavon said. As a young alum, that something like this would be really valuable as a way to reconnect with the university. I used to be a tour guide, and what I'd always say is that you can't make a small school big, but you can make a big school small. And I feel like this is a great way for alums to do that. So thank you for putting this together.
Wonderful. Thank you. Is it Kirsten or Kieran?
Kirsten, thank you for asking.
Kirsten. I know people that pronounce it both ways, so I always want to ask. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? I'm scanning through. I've got a couple screens of people here, so I'm trying to scan through, make sure we don't miss anyone. All right. Well, thank you everyone for taking the time to join us tonight. As I mentioned, we will, for those of you who may be interested in getting involved with the board and taking on a leadership role, we will have that application available in the next week or two, and I'll send that out to everyone that was on the call tonight. You know, we will be looking for, as we go through those applications, we'll really be, you know, looking for, you know, what types of skill sets people bring, trying to make sure that we have a diverse group based on, you know, a number of factors, race, gender, geography, industry, to make sure that we have, you know, a lot of different representation on that leadership group. So if you don't get selected, don't take it personally. I, you know, encourage everyone to stay involved, and we will have, they will be 2-year terms, so there will be continuing opportunities to get involved, you know, if not at this time, certainly down the road in the future. So, oops, I'm seeing one more question here The New York Financial Writers Association has an excellent series of Zoom meetings on current journalism topics and trends with guest panelists. Yes, definitely. I mean, I think, as you heard from Alyssa and Jeff, I think once the board gets up and running, that group is really leading the charge. And so, I think, we'll look to them to, put events together, activities together that they think will be of interest to alumni, and hopefully a mix of professional development, networking, connecting with students, a variety of things. And so, a speaker series, things like that, I think are all definitely great ideas and great possibilities. So wonderful. I'm sorry, I'm just reading in the chat here. And Capital News Service, Marlena, and working with local and national, that's actually something that I've been talking about a little bit with our Capital News Service folks is getting involved with doing some speaker things as well. So I think that's definitely something that could be in the cards to do things along those lines, like what ProPublica does. So wonderful. Well, thank you again, everyone. Appreciate your time, appreciate your interest in getting involved with this. Like I said, you'll be hearing from me. I'll send out both the application and the volunteer handbook that Jeff shared earlier, so you can read through that and get, sort of the more nitty-gritty sense of what's really involved in serving in a leadership role on the board. And we will go from there. And like I said, you have my email. Feel free to reach out. I think both Jeff and Alyssa have put their emails in the chat as well, and I'll include those in the follow-up email. So feel free to reach out to either of them with questions as well. So thank you again. Hope everyone is staying safe and healthy and getting through in these crazy times we have. So again, really appreciate you all being here tonight. And thanks to Jeff and Alyssa for taking time out of their evening to be with us as well. So thank you and good night, everyone.
Thank you. Go Terps.
Go Terps.